Hi everyone. When life gets insane, I really find the best antidote is to just come out into nature. So here I am back out at Cressbrook. It's a beautiful, still autumnal day. Lovely sunshine and blue skies. Most of the leaves have fallen from the trees. And so I'm here with Kobe. It's pretty deserted. And even though Cressbrook kind of sits in it amidst its own form of insanity, nevertheless this land is usually pretty deserted and at peace. So it really is a sanctuary. So today I wanted to talk a bit about the Great Reveal. If you've been following my Telegram channel, I've posted a few things on the Great Reveal. It all hinges on an article which was published, I believe very carefully crafted and published deliberately, I think on the 31st of October, on Samhain, which is a very powerful date in the calendar because it's one of the quarter points. Samhain in the pagan calendar, it's one of the quarter points. It basically represents northwest. Imbolc is northeast, Beltane is southeast, Lammas is southwest, and Samhain is northwest. So it is the very much in the father, the patriarchy, in that northwest yang metal place. So if you believe in these things and if you believe in the power of metaphysics, then you will know that date is quite a potent date to drop a little bomb. So of course there's a massive uprising and an outrage because basically the Atlantic article was saying, just forgive and forget, let's all move on. And of course everyone in the truther movement is saying, hold on a minute, not so fast, Sonny Jim, and calling for justice to be done. So I wanted to talk a bit about law and justice, and I want to start with a little anecdote actually, because many years ago when I first started in the world, the system, shall we say. Actually, I probably started many years before in the education system, but my first job was in a firm of accountants, and I was an office junior. And once a month, a little bundle of sort of A5 punched papers arrived, and they were the updates for I think they were called the Butterworths tax, volumes of tax legislation. And my job back then was to file all of these updates to the tax legislation in these huge great green binders. There's a whole volumes and volumes of these binders on shelves in the office, and I had to find the relevant page and replace it with the update as legislation was being updated. And of course I was just following orders in those days, so I didn't really question why are there so many volumes of tax law and why does it keep changing. And I didn't question it. I just came and I just followed orders. I did what I was told. So then, of course, later, as I took my tax examinations and I qualified as a tax professional, I was an ATII. So I worked my way up the career ladder, and then I was having to interpret this legislation. And I'm just, kind of like, it's so complicated. Tax law, tax legislation, case law. And it was, just like, why does it have to be so complicated? And then in the end, I realised that I just couldn't keep on in that profession, because the more senior I got, the more I would have to deal with complicated tax law. And I'm not really a kind of lawyer. That's not really what I'm cut out to be in life. So because I was specialising in taxation of entrepreneurs and small businesses, I then left, and through a bit of a roundabout route, I ended up setting up my own business. And I found actually that I was far better at being a marketeer. Now, a marketeer is the absolute diametric opposite to being a tax legislator, because a marketeer will find the simplest, easiest, most understandable way to explain something complicated. That is the art of marketing. So if you look back at COVID, there was a stark contrast, because of course the marketeers who were experts at psyops at the front end of the communications end of trying to get the message across, they were coming up with simple slogans like hands, face, space, and saving lives, and all of these kind of easy to understand concepts for the common man. Whereas if you tried to delve into any of the statistics, for example, you would find yourself in the most complicated websites of spreadsheets and data that was impossible, or pretty impossible to unravel and fathom. I mean, I am quite good at maths, and I have got an accountancy training, so I know how to read spreadsheets. But even for someone like me with quite an advanced understanding of statistics, etc., and how to look at things like spreadsheets and put together, compile statistics, even for me, it was very, very complicated. And so it's like, hold on a minute, this is a bit interesting, isn't it? So simple messages that they want you to get and obey are very, very clear, concise, and sort of diktats in a few words. And anything that they don't really want you to understand and look at, they bury in a ton of data and complicated websites, which make it really impossible. Oh, hark! Don't know if you can hear that. Running water. The Cressbrook is running. We've had a lot of rain. I was wondering when it was going to stop running again. Okay, let's go down and have a look at the Cressbrook, which runs through Cressbrookdale. So we're very close to source here. So I'm headed north down to I'm on the stairway to heaven, the magic steps. Actually going down. So hopefully I'm not going down into hell. I'm just going down the steps, down to the path where there's a little bridge over the river. So let's go down there and have a look at the water. Wow, beautiful. This is the first time I've seen it running since it dried up in about April, May time. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so this contrast between simplicity and complexity is a very interesting thing, and it's actually also in my birth chart, because I've got a Gemini ascendant and my sun is in Sagittarius. So whilst I'm very much into interesting, complex subjects, I always loved simplicity. Okay, let's just show you the Cressbrook. Hey, it's actually running quite far and fast. So this is the little bridge across to the nature reserve. I've turned the camera around, so I'm hoping that you can see this. And Kobe, come on in. Let's go across the bridge. Let's go over and go and have a look at the brook. Oh, so that's a really good sign. We're back in flow. We've had a lot of blocks recently. I started doing morning mantras with Lucidia and Raphael, as encouraged by Mog. So every morning, 9 a.m. to about 9:45, tune in on Zoom, and we all have a sort of sing-along a mantra session, which is really beautiful. There's usually 3 mantras, and we all sit and sort of sing along, well, with my audio turned off, because I don't want to ruin it for everyone. Yeah. And so on Monday we were singing Om Gum Ganapataye Namaha, or a Ganesh mantra. I'm not sure if that was exactly it. So so Ganesh is the remover of obstacles and blocks. Okay, so there you go. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, isn't that beautiful? That is so beautiful. The Cressbrook is running. such beautiful, clear water. And it starts just up north from here, the top of the Cressbrook Dale. So we're over here in the nature reserve. Come on, let's go across. Let's walk back, head over the bridge. Anyway, oh God, this is a bit of a rambling ramble, isn't it? Anyway, it is so beautiful here. And it's so lovely to see that brook running. Okay, so complexity versus simplicity. So this thing about, following the system. So I used to get these leaflets and I would file them all away and I didn't question it at all. And then, of course, as I started to get more advanced in accountancy, I would, the next stage is trying to understand it. And then the next stage after that is trying to master it. And I think there comes a point where after you've tried to understand the system and you've tried to play the system and master the system and win at the system, there comes a point where you actually start questioning the system. And so this is the point where a lot of us are now at. We're starting to question the system. Why does there need to be so much tax legislation? And in fact, why are we paying tax anyway? And if you think of the founding forefathers of America, that was the reason that they went to war with the King of England, because they were fed up of paying taxes and they wanted their independence. And so they had this huge civil war and then the Declaration of Independence. Here we go. We're now back in our land, and that is our boundary wall. That dry stone wall, that must have been there hundreds of years. Look, it's completely covered in moss. And so the Cressbrook, I've got my wellies on so I can actually go down here. And there's Kobe having a little drink. So, as you can see, over the wall there's the main Cressbrook, but it kind of seeps through to this side. So it's running on both sides of the wall. I'm sure you've all seen a brook before, but I'm very proud of that. Very excited about that. The brook is flowing. Anyway, so questioning the system. And one of the most beautiful gifts for me of over the past year, because it's actually almost a year, pretty much a year since I met Dean. Our anniversary is actually the 11th of the 11th. That was our first date. We went to see the Bond movie. I think it was called No Time to Die, something like that. And that was our first date on the 11th of the 11th. And of course, Dean is a great gift because he pioneered the Buxton freedom movement. But he's a farmer, but he's also very, very interested in tax law. He's not interested in tax law at all. He's very, very interested in common law. Sorry, my mistake. And so when he started questioning the system, which was when I think people start to question the system when they actually get entangled with the system. And I certainly I got entangled with the legal system in 2020, and I was so shocked at the system and the injustice of the system. It really inspired me to look into the system. And so the same with Dean. He really made it his business to really understand or get to realise how the legal system, this maritime system, this super complex volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes of law that the average man has no chance whatsoever of understanding. And obviously you have to get a lawyer or a barrister to act for you, because there's no way that anyone could really understand it for themselves. It kind of obfuscates common law. And the principle of common law is simply to do no harm, injury, to cause no harm, injury or loss to your fellow man or woman. And It really is as simple as that. That is the rule. And basically, under common law, you have almost unlimited rights because we are all God's creatures, and we have the right to be here, and we have the right to freedom and life and liberty, as long as we cause no harm, injury or loss to our fellow man, because that would be an impingement of their rights. So of course, going back to the whole COVID debacle, a lot of it was, you're not doing it for you, you've got to keep everyone else safe, you've got to keep grandma safe, you don't wear a mask for you, you wear a mask for others. Have the vaccination because it's antisocial not to. But of course, under common law, the rights of the individual are not usurped by the rights of the collective, because every individual has their rights. And as long as you do not cause any harm, injury or loss to your fellow man or woman, then you have the right to live as you wish, and you have the right to choose where you wish to go, whether you wish to wear a mask or not, whether you wish to avail yourself of an experimental vaccine or not, or injection, should I say, not even a vaccine. And so those are your rights. So that essentially is what freedom is about. Freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of medical choices. And it's basically rooted in common law, because we're all free men and women of the land. And it really is that simple. And so the fundamental issue is you do not have to consent to the volumes and volumes and volumes of essentially maritime law, which act to essentially dictate to you what you can and can't do, and what your rights are and aren't. And of course, the whole of maritime law is set up, if you understand about these things, it's all set up to cleverly obtain your consent, because it only operates through consent. You have to agree to it. And so once you have an awareness of common law, then you can actually start to question the system. Hold on a minute. I do not consent. I do not understand this system. Literally, I do not stand under. I do not understand. And it's designed so that you cannot understand it. So simply saying, I do not understand. I don't stand under this. I do not understand it. I do not stand under it. And also a very important thing is not to avail yourself of solicitors and barristers. So I've got a bit of a flat hair day because I washed my hair and I put my hat on. It's sort of dried flat. Let's perk it up a bit. Yeah, so when you avail yourself of a solicitor and a barrister, of course, solicitors and barristers are under oath to uphold the system. So you may think, well, I'm paying this solicitor and barrister to act on my behalf. They're on my side. But no, they're actually on the side of upholding the system, ultimately. So when you start to realise common law, understand common law, and how our rights have been removed, then it's a big wake-up call. Now, it's an interesting one because, of course, who makes the law? It's the Houses of Parliament, and it's the MPs that we elect. Now, you may have noticed, you may have seen, if you've been following me, that I responded to a clarion call from the Freedom Alliance, which is basically a collaboration of all parties speaking out on behalf of our rights for freedom, and it was born out of the liberation movement. I responded to a call saying, does anyone want to stand as an MP in their area? And so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But of course, if you look at democracy, this system that is set up, essentially a two-party system with all of these other parties, in fact, I would actually say, don't vote for me, because the way that the system of democracy works is that any contenders to the established parties split the vote. And they may actually make it easier for the majority party to win and don't even have a majority. So it's much easier for the established parties to win. Let's put it like that. And of course, because all of the newspapers and the social media channels and all of the main publishing platforms are in some way owned or controlled or heavily funded by strategic partners of the World Economic Forum, the level of psyops influencing the public is huge. So it doesn't take much to persuade to vote Tory, because they're under this massive psychological psyops campaign. Right, let's just give the politics a break and get back to this beautiful flowing water. Isn't that amazing? Cody there, having a little drink. It's really nice that he can, on our walk, just have some natural living water. It's lovely blue skies. You can see pretty much the trees are bare here now. And we're right at the bottom of the dale. So you can see up there is the skyline. Beautiful blue skies. Yeah. So some heckler, some troll on social media last night was there saying, "Oh, yeah, you're just using all of us to, advance your political career." I'm just like, are you mentally deranged? What chance in hell do you think I have of being elected as MP to Derbyshire Dales? Are you insane? You seriously think that someone like me in the Freedom Alliance could overturn this democratic system? So why am I doing it? I'm doing it to open a conversation to question the system. That's why I'm doing it. Not because I want to advance my political career, folks. Don't be ridiculous. That's just a frickin' insult. That really is an absolute insult, that you think that I am doing all this through some kind of frickin' ego. I can't actually even begin to describe how much I have lost by speaking out and making a stand. Pretty much every corporate gig that I used to do, I don't get anymore because of my views, because of course every corporate is in tune with the system, and they're all in some way part funded by the World Economic Forum. They don't want to have a speaker like me. I even was invited by someone quite high up in the NHS to go and speak to their senior executives, and they basically said, I even offered to do that for free, and they said, no, it's too much of a political hot potato to actually put into the NHS, even though the NHS is apparently on its knees. I don't feel that many people have any clue whatsoever about the personal losses I have suffered through standing up and speaking out. But I do it because I can see what's happening, and I do it because I'm questioning the system, and I do it because I want to pattern interrupt the system, and I also regularly pattern interrupt the mind control programming which is deeply embedded in all of us. And I thank also those people who help me to spot when I'm running a program, because these programs are deeply embedded in all of us. And sometimes it takes a mentor or a coach or a wise one or a good friend to say, hold on a minute, hold on Rachel, you're running a pattern there. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So yeah, to kind of say this is some kind of ego trip, that really is a bit of an insult, to be quite honest. Anyway, and breathe. Yeah, so it is good to step away and to step into nature where everything is so simple, because right here the only system at play really is nature. And moving from spring to summer to autumn, soon we'll be in winter, seeing the seasons change, seeing the land change, enjoying every different type of weather here without judgment, and just being in tune with the simplicity of nature. That really is my antidote when everything gets too crazy. So just wanted to jump on today and share those little reflections about law, about justice, about how we organise ourselves, and about how we are at the point now where it's important, I believe, I feel, for us all not to be complying with the system, not to be trying to win at the system, but to be questioning the system. And the natural result of that, the natural consequence of that is, okay, what would be better? What would work? What would be a far better system? What would be a far better way to organise ourselves, our communities? How can we live in harmony with one another, with our fellow men and women, free men and women of the land? How can we create a system where we honour everyone's rights to freedom, but we can also be in community and live in harmony and support one another? So get the best of both worlds, be in service to our community, but also have our rights, our individual rights respected as free men and women of the land. So I'm not saying I have any magical solutions for that, but I sure as hell know it's not something to be worked out in the mind. It's something to actually be practiced in the 3D realm through organising ourselves into communities and seeing how we get on. Because I can tell you through experience of lots of different communities during this past 2.5 years of being involved in all sorts of different things, from Bakewell Stand in the Park to the Buxton Freedom Movement to some of the local community groups I've been involved with, through to Cressbrook, Dale Estate, our community here, through to our relations with the Cressbrook village community. Oh my goodness gracious, there is a lot to overcome. There's a lot for us to learn. But of course, none of us have ever been taught how to function in community. We've only ever been taught the system, which is a set of rules, command and control rules, which you must obey, otherwise you will be punished and shamed and judged. Surely there has to be a better way. So with that thought, I'll sign out and sending you lots of love from a very beautiful blue sky autumnal Cressbrook Dale. Okay, bye for now.